Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into something deeply personal for a lot of us. We're exploring the profound, often hidden socioeconomic dynamics of family sacrifice. Now, we're not just going to sit here and look at abstract data or broad theories, right? Instead, we're going to walk through a deeply moving case study of an Indian middle-class family. It's a story about a father, a mother, and a son, but honestly, the mechanics of their struggle represent the hidden reality for literally millions of families around the world. We're going to look at how dreams are truly financed. So picture this. Imagine a father named Rajesh. He's facing what is basically an impossible mathematical dilemma. He opens up his wallet and there is exactly 500 rupees left to his name. That's it. But his son, Aman, who is this bright class 10 student with huge aspirations to become an engineer, well, Aman comes home with a crushing requirement. He needs a 5,000 rupee coaching fee. So you have to ask yourself, how on earth do you bridge that massive mathematical gap when you have absolutely zero financial safety net? Let's get into Section 1, the cost of a dream and the impossible math of opportunity. Think about the brutal math of poverty for a second. On one hand, you've got these immediate, non-negotiable survival needs, right? A pending electricity bill, overdue house rent, an empty gas cylinder, the absolute basics. But then, on the other hand, sits this 5,000 rupees coaching fee. It literally forces a terrifying choice on the family between just surviving today and actually succeeding tomorrow. Bridging that gap, purchasing this opportunity, it requires profound personal deprivation. That 5,000 rupees doesn't just magically appear from a bank loan or a surprise bonus. No, it comes from Rajesh actually skipping lunch at work, laboring day after day on a completely empty stomach. It comes from his wife Sunita, quietly and secretly selling her highly sentimental gold wedding earrings. By scraping together and collecting every possible rupee they can find, they transform the abstract idea of a fee into a very real physical and emotional sacrifice. Which brings us to Section 2, buying dreams over luxuries, prioritizing opportunity over comfort. Normally, when we hear a phrase like purchasing power, our minds go straight to material goods, don't they? We think of luxury cars, designer clothes, basically upgrading a lifestyle with status symbols. But middle-class purchasing power operates completely differently. These parents strategically channel their severely limited resources entirely away from personal comfort and directly into buying opportunity. They aren't buying objects, they are buying a trajectory for the next generation. And this really hits home when Aman actually saw the receipt for his coaching class. He became incredibly emotional. And that's when Rajesh taught him a crucial lesson about what their priorities really were. With tired eyes, he explained exactly what all their hard work was purchasing. He said, because middle-class parents don't buy luxury cars for their children, they buy dreams. For middle-class parents, the absolute highest priority is not their own personal comfort or material wealth, it's the future and the aspirations of their children. Moving on to Section 3, the architecture of sacrifice. Let's look at the hidden hardships and daily realities. You see, the sacrifices absolutely didn't end once that coaching fee was paid. Not even close. It meant the entire family eating simple rice and salt at the end of the month when the money dried up. It meant Rajesh walking 4 kilometers in the pouring rain just to save a tiny auto fare and quietly counting out individual coins to afford essential medicines. It meant Rajesh wearing the exact same torn shoes for 3 grueling years. These physical hardships, they are the literal currency being used to fund Aman's future. In this explainer, we call this the architecture of success. It's this invisible foundation of daily parental hardships, physical sacrifices, and deferred comforts upon which a child's future aspirations are built. When we see a student get a top rank or someone launch a successful career, we really have to remember that skipped meals and torn shoes are literally the bricks and mortar of that next generation's achievements. All right, Section 4, a collective family investment. Let's talk about the payoff of intergenerational wealth. The timeline of all this sacrifice is honestly just astounding. It kicks off in class 10, with that initial fee paid through absolutely unbearable hardship. Then, months later, Aman studies relentlessly, right? And he actually validates his parents' massive struggles by securing a top rank in his engineering entrance exams. Fast forward a few years later, and the ultimate payoff finally arrives. Aman lands a highly sought-after, lucrative job in Bangalore. 85,000 rupees. That was Aman's very first monthly salary. I mean, talk about a staggering juxtaposition against the mere 500 rupees his father once agonized over in his wallet. It represents a total, undeniable generational leap in financial security, and it was achieved entirely because of that initial architecture of sacrifice. But here is the truly beautiful part. The true lesson Aman learned wasn't just about making money. When he came back home with that very first salary, he stopped at a small shop and bought his dad, Rajesh, the absolute best shoes they had. When Rajesh softly protested, saying his old ones were fine, Aman just replied, "No, Papa, they carried my future long enough." Aman replacing those very shoes Rajesh wore for 3 years perfectly encapsulates the lesson his father taught him. His education was never just a personal victory. It was always a collective family investment. And this reveals a much broader kind of bittersweet truth about the middle-class cycle. Parents hide their pain behind smiles just so the burden doesn't crush their child's spirit. They completely sacrifice their own personal comfort, effectively spending an entire lifetime building a future that they may never actually personally enjoy. It's a cycle built entirely on selfless love. So, I want to leave you with this final thought to really chew on. Whose hidden sacrifices served as the architecture for your own dreams? Think about it. We rarely reach our destinations entirely on our own, do we? There's almost always an invisible foundation supporting us. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember, never forget the hands that built the foundation you stand on today.